Welcome. As always, I welcome you to our daily word on this chilly Tuesday morning as we continue to gather daily for our conversation around Scripture and what it means for us and how we apply it to our daily lives and how we use it just to live as God would have us to live and to be disciples and to share what God has given us with others. And we do that best when we do it together, I think. And so we've been doing this for many, many, many days, of course. So as always, I am grateful that you carve out time on a daily basis to be with me and to continue to share in this conversation together around Scripture. Today, this Tuesday, is daily word number 844 as we continue our journey together. So our scripture for this morning that I've chosen is Psalm 62, verses 5 through 12. And this is one of the texts for this coming Sunday as well that we will hear. So we hear these words. For my hope is from him. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I shall not be shaken. On God rest my deliverance and my honor, my mighty rock. My refuge is in God. Trust in God at all times. O people, pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us. Selah. Those of low estate are not but a breath. Those of high estate are a delusion. In the balances they go up. They are together lighter than a breath. Put no confidence in extortion, and set no vain hopes on robbery. If riches increase, do not set your heart on them. Once God has spoken, twice I have heard this, that power belongs to God, and steadfast love belongs to you, O Lord, for you repay to all according to their work. So last night, kicked off this early in January, the political debate, the choosing of candidates, the hatred and vitriol that comes with it all, the name calling and the ugliness that comes with it all. And it happened in Iowa, and I won't lament about the results, but it happened there. And it happens in lots of ways and lots of cases in our lives that, in all of those ways, and I know this is one of these necessary evils in our culture, this political season. It starts sooner and sooner, and it seems like it never goes away now. But then we also look at all of our culture. Football playoffs are in full swing. College football coaches are changing jobs and making lots and lots and lots and lots of money. Football players are changing schools for money these days. High school basketball season and swim season. There are so many seasons that are going on. We're also in the midst of this cold winter and all of it that means for us, and cars that won't start, and flat tires, and batteries, and the list goes on, and schools that cancel today. There's plenty, is there not, of upheaval in our culture. And we have to figure out, in the midst of all of it, how that looks for us. This psalm, I think, speaks loudly to us about all of these situations and where we find ourselves. For God alone my soul waits in silence, for my hope is from him. Yesterday we celebrated Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. And Martin Luther King Jr. asserted that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And many people, even today, many people think that's a naive way to look at our culture. But I think we've forgotten, in the midst of that particular sentence, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. That Martin Luther King trusted that God does the bending. And the psalmist, I think, gives us a similar trust, commends a similar trust to us. On God rests my deliverance and my honor, my mighty rock, my refuge is in God. But even more than that, right before that, the psalmist says at the beginning of verse 8, trust in God at all times. Trust in God at all times. So we've I think failed to put our trust in God because we put our trust in all of these other things that I mentioned. You know, the political system and all of that. We've put our trust in that, and we've forgotten that we should put our trust in God. The psalmist implores us to trust the one who is faithful. To hear what it says, once God has spoken, twice I have heard this, the power belongs to God, and steadfast love belongs to you, O Lord. The power belongs to God. Not to us, not to some people in Iowa, not to some political candidates, not to the weather or school systems or football coaches or whatever it is. The power belongs to God. And God is a refuge for us. And I think, friends, in this culture, we've somehow lost sight of it, that for God alone our soul waits, and that indeed, as Martin Luther King Jr. believed and sought and talked about, I believe it to be true, too. God does the bending. It's God who does the bending of the moral arc of justice. It's God who does the bending of power and making sure that, well, the scripture says it, right? The low estate are but a breath, and the high estate are but a delusion. In balances they go up, they are together lighter than breath. We don't set our hearts on riches, the scripture says. God continues to bend the arc towards love and justice. And that power belongs to God and not to us, and not to some political system or candidates or whatever else it is that we put our trust in. So I pray that today, in our culture, in our personal lives, where we are just at the moment, that we would trust in God at all times, in all ways, and in all places. That God continues to move in us and shape us. And if we can do that, if we can change the arc a bit, our personal arc, and point it towards trusting in God, we'll look at life a bit differently. So that's our word for today. That's the psalmist who speaks to us and who speaks to me, and I think gives us this important word. So as always, thanks for joining me. I pray you know of God's love that surrounds you, know of my continued love for you, and I will see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Have a great day.